Put on a like mini flip.
It's a little out of that. Good one on the frog.
Oh my gosh, look how big his mouth is. To be a 4-pounder, if that thing had a gut, that's like a 5 or a 6.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to One Objective. We are back. We're going to try to get this show back up and going. It's been a kind of a chaotic into the 2024 season, and then kind of going into the 2025 season, which has been crazy. I don't know. Me and my wife been talking about this and saying that 2025 hasn't been starting off good for us. So, but we got some shows lined up, and we got a special guest on tonight, a good friend of ours, Robert Brown. He'll be joining us. He had a phenomenal tournament at Florida for the BASS Nation Kayak Series. So we're going to talk to him about that. We're also going to talk a little bit about the, how his season, what his season is going to be looking like for this year, what he plans on fishing. And then we're also going to be going in depth about, I don't know what technique we'll go in depth about. We're just going to see where it goes and go from there. But it's wintertime fishing right now. So maybe we'll talk Robert. He's a big time jig fisherman. He loves jig fishing. So maybe we'll kind of go in depth with that. So, but before we go ahead and get him on, I want to thank all of our sponsors that's helped us out through the last several years of One Objective. We're on our 9th season, and actually, I think we're going into our 10th season, to be quite honest with you. So it seems like it was just yesterday when this started, and we started from a podcast at my kitchen table to working our way up to the camper now. No, I'm just saying we worked our way up to doing this full time and being able to, make kayak accessories and rig kayaks and bass boats and all that. It all started right here on the podcast show. So it was something me and James wanted to do, to be able to sit down and talk fishing and learn a lot from these guys, and it helps us out on the water. And then it kind of started pushing over into YouTube. And then we got to knowing Casey Reed. Well, we knew Casey Reed, went to school with him, but kind of talking to him about the kayak tournaments, and we started getting interested in it. And it's just history after that. That's how we started. And it started with me and James, and it's still me and James that run this thing and manufacture and design and all that. We don't have a whole crew that comes in and helps us, but we do have a whole crew that helps support us with our pro staff guys. Robert Brown's one of them. We got Craig. We got Bob Risky. We got the Muses. We got, if I didn't name you, I'm sorry, but we got a good team of people that help us with making One Objective what it is. So very appreciative of them guys and girls and all that they've done for us. But also, I want to thank all our sponsors real quick. I want to thank Missile Baits. I want to thank Waterland Eyewear. Make sure I'll put a link in the description here. You can go save yourself 15% on your next order. Also, you can check out AMP. We got them on our website. It's hard to beat those batteries. They've been phenomenal. We run them in our bass boats. We run them in our kayaks. I actually got a box that I take in and out of my kayak, but it's great the way we got it set up for charging phones if the power goes out, or running other things in the house. So that was a little box we made with some AMP batteries. So make sure you go check out AMP and everything they have. And then, like I say, Missile Baits. It's hard to beat the soft plastics Missile has. The Baby Destroyer and the Candy Grass is by far my favorite color. I love flipping, throwing on a Carolina rig, all that. So make sure you go check them out as well. But let's go ahead and get Robert on, and let's kind of talk about his Florida tournament and break it all down. What's going on, Robert? How you doing, buddy?
Man, I'm doing awesome. How you doing, bro?
Oh, not too bad. I mean, I'm sure you are flying high right now after coming off of a good event. I know you didn't win it, but having a day 2 like you did and covering as much ground as you did on a leaderboard, I'm sure it feels phenomenal, especially, like I say, having that big day 2.
Bro, it's it's the best feeling you can have when you don't win, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like, it's a great feeling because, I ended day 1. I mean, we're going to get into it, but I ended day 1 pretty high up the lead. Like, I'm sorry, I say high up the leaderboard. What I meant is pretty low down the leaderboard. And then to make the move that I did because of my day 2, and what I did in day 2 was a PB for me. So it was phenomenal, man. It was literally phenomenal. It was the best performance in a tournament that I've done. I've caught more inches than that in a day, fun fishing, but never in that tournament because anybody who fishes, you fish tournaments
Yeah.
and you fish for fun. You know the tournament fishing is completely different than
Oh yeah.
fishing for fun.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll have some of the funnest days and some of your best catches either during a practice or just out there fun fishing.
Yep.
And tournament time rolls around, everything's different. It's a whole different stress level. You got so many things going on in your head, trying to make adjustments. You're not fishing free or like you would as just fun fishing.
100%, man. And when we get into it, I'm gonna tell you what made this one really different for me personally.
Well,
This tournament.
let's kind of get into it. Let's talk about your practice. How much practice did you have in this event?
So I had 3 days of practice. I got there Tuesday. Obviously, tournament started. Excuse me, on Saturday. I got there Tuesday, and I say 3 days because I got there Tuesday afternoon, and I hit the water Tuesday afternoon because I didn't have to check into my Airbnb until after 4 p.m. And I got there like around noon on Tuesday, so I hit the first lake. On Thursday, I did go out and pre-fish Thursday on a different lake on one of the numerous lakes I pre-fish, but I was only out there for 2 to 3 hours because I had to drive. I had to get off the water to drive to Tallahassee because my son had a basketball game.
Oh,
Because my kids live in Tallahassee, Florida. We were in Kissimmee, Florida. I had not been able to be at any of his basketball games because one, I'm active duty and I live in Virginia. So the fact that I was in Florida and he had a basketball game while I was going to be in Florida, I was going to drive to it. It was a 4 hour drive.
yeah.
So I went and pre-fished in the morning for like 2.5 to 3 hours. Got off the water, dropped the trailer off at the Airbnb, and beelined for Tallahassee, which was 4 hours.
Yeah.
Watched his game. I will say my son had 18 points in the game,
Oh
18
wow.
points, 8 rebounds, and 3 assists. Uh, I was blown away, man. It was awesome to watch him play in his game. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And he had a great game. And they won by like, I want to say they won by like 12, 13 points. And
Oh nice.
he was a big part of that. So I don't count that as a pre-fishing day because I was only out there for like 3 hours. So I got 3 days of pre-fishing. Um, Tuesday, I think I said it in the Bassmaster video, so I'll just say it now. Tuesday when we got there, I pre-fished Marion. Uh, Marion's the one I have the most experience on down there.
Mhm.
I fished it like 4 times total. So I pre-fished Marion first, and got there like noon. Within the first hour and a half, I had a limit. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, from the first hour and a half, I had a limit doing two different things, two different patterns, and I was just like, I mean, it wasn't a huge limit. Well, actually, it was a. It was, I'm lying. It was a pretty good limit. It was like 92 inches. Uh, and it was basically throwing a lipless, and throwing a jackhammer.
That's a well-known bait down there in Florida, the jackhammer. I mean, that's just everybody's throwing a chatterbait or something,
Mm-hmm.
That's Craig's kind of fishing. I'm surprised Craig didn't go.
Yeah. He wanted to. He wanted to
Yeah.
go really bad. So it was my original pattern on Tuesday was I was throwing a sexy shad lipless. I want to say a spro, but it was a silent lipless. And there was no BBs in it.
Mhm.
And then I was throwing a I don't know what the color's called, but it's pink and white jackhammer. I don't know what the color.
Okay.
I
I
don't know
don't
what
know
they
what
call.
that is. I might
Yeah,
look that up.
I wish I should have had them with me right now to put them on the camera. Um, that's what I was throwing, and I was getting bit on that. I had a Zaco trailer. I want to say something flash Zaco trailer, and that's what I was getting bit on. And in the first hour and a half, I had a limit. So I was like, okay, had enough here. I've seen enough over here because I know this lake the most. Let's go check into the Airbnb. Tuesday, we went to Kissimmee. And when I tell you Kissimmee, if you're into grass fishing and into pad fishing, Kissimmee's a dream. It's a dream,
Yeah.
bro. Like uh points in the pads, points in the grass, points in the Kissimmee grass, little indentations, little like it created like the grass and the pads and the Kissimmee grass created their own contour lines, so to speak, and structure. And it just looks everything looks juicy. Everything. And we spent 8 to 10 hours out there because that was our first full day of practice. And I caught like 2 fish and I had like total of 4 bites.
Mm.
It was like, okay, well, this is terrible. I covered like 5 miles, which is not terribly too much, but on a kayak, that's a lot to cover,
Yeah.
5 miles. And I was just like, wow, I really wanted to fish Kissimmee because Kissimmee is known to have a bigger class of fish.
Yeah.
But it was terrible. We had most of the day was cloud cover, but half of it was sunny. And one of my favorite ways, my favorite way to fish is with a jig. That's my favorite thing to throw is a jig. But what most people don't know is I love to punch. Like a punching bite,
Mm-hmm.
it rivals jigs for me. Like it's hard
Yeah.
to tell which one's most. So I wanted a punch bite. So and Kissimmee has all the right stuff to punch. And I caught one punching, but like I probably did like 1,000, 1,500 pitches punching and one fish. That's not a recipe for succeeding in tournament.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so we left Kissimmee. Kissimmee was out. uh, Pre-fished Cypress. I caught one fish on Cypress with a jig. Favorite way to catch them? Jig, but
Yeah.
one fish in 4 or 5 hours. No, thank you. I can't say the word. I can't say the name, but the W one, the W Lake, we a Pakalaka Laka something.
Yeah. It's one of them weird names down there.
So you know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't say it. We a Pakalaka Laka. That's it. Uh,
Yeah.
wasn't good.
It's a couple of them down there that I can't say.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
they all got like Indian tribal names is basically
yes, sir.
what it is. So it's really hard. I know when me and James went down there, I can't even think of the one that we fished. It was basically where the lake was kind of just everything was dumping into
Uh
the
huh.
Harris Chain, So it was just a big channel we were in.
How'd y'all do?
James did really well. I during practice I had a good tournament, but I mean during practice I did good. During the tournament, I think I had like I don't know 70 some inches or something like that. But that's when James caught his 8-pounder down there at that time.
Oh, was that Harris Chain?
Yeah.
I thought. Why did I think that was a different one? I didn't realize that was Harris Chain.
Yep, that was Harris Chain.
So I remember what time you're talking about. Yeah. It was like a
Yeah.
25, right? 25 inches.
Yeah. James caught
Yeah.
he caught a big old 8-pounder. His PB down there when he caught that. So
Yeah, it's crazy. 25 inch. Like I remember that. I remember that one very vividly.
and the bad thing was he luckily he got the measurement of it and he put it on the donkey leash or whatever on the side and he was gonna take pictures and then he went to go pull it up and it was gone. Like the only picture you had of it was on the board, which is the main one. So
Bro, like I don't this is nothing against Donkey Leash. So understand I'm not talking trash against Donkey Leash to anybody who watches this. But that's why I don't use the Donkey Leash anymore. I've had at least 3 or 4 fish on that
yeah,
donkey leash after I took actually 2 of them were prior to taking the picture, 2 of them were after. Because you learn your lesson after it happens once or twice. You say, okay, I'm gonna take the picture first before I put it on the donkey leash. Take
yeah.
the picture on the board so you can get it
Get your
uploaded.
point.
Yeah, get the points. Yeah, then I don't know. I think it's big fish because smaller fish, the donkey leash holds them great. At
Yeah,
least the 3 or 4 years ago when I had it. Uh, but yeah, I've lost like 4 fish on the donkey leash.
yeah.
Uh, I don't know.
I've done it with the fish grips too. Like I've had smallmouth because they stay just wound tight the whole time. And I'll throw them on there and then I'll put them on the fish grips and put it in the water. Just check my pictures, make sure they're good,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll get to jumping and they hit the side of the boat and open that thing up, and you're just like, hope my picture was good because it's gone.
Yeah, dude, the smallmouth bug has bit me, but I've only caught like a total ever of like 4 smallmouths.
Yeah.
And
I'd
my
love to get
biggest,
you guys up here at the river, like at the upper part of the James, like
I'll
you
come.
and Jason Hensley and Craig and them. You know what I mean?
You tell me that you tell me when I will be there, dude. I retire this year.
Yeah.
It will be amazing. I will have a lot of time. You tell me when and I'll be there.
You need to come up and fish some night tournaments with me then. I got a
And
place
when?
where you stay at my house at Smith
No, what'd you say? Come up when and do what now?
and fish some night tournaments.
Oh, I'm down. I'm down.
Dude, especially when the shad spawn is on. It's phenomenal.
I'm down as long as Casey's not fishing it.
Yeah, he stays in the plastic boat. I don't see him much in the bass boat.
Okay, as long as he's in the plastic boat, not in the bass boat, I'll definitely come do it. I'm joking. I will come do it
Yeah,
even if he's in the bass boat. But like,
yeah,
yeah, Casey, that's my guy, man. Like
yeah.
he's
I like Casey. He's a good dude.
beast. That's my so. Not to get off subject, but like, I feel like when you're an angler and you're aspiring to be great, I aspire to be great. I don't think I'm great, but I aspire to be great. I think you should find people who you think are better than you or who are really good and make that person your rival. And
Yeah,
for me, I have 2 rivals, Casey Reed and uh, DB. Um, you know it's crazy when you put yourself on the spot, but
yeah.
Brundle,
Oh yeah, Derek Brundle.
yeah, Derek Brundle.
Yeah,
Those are my 2, I guess rivals. They're both like just ridiculous anglers. They're
they're gonna
great.
catch him.
Yeah, everywhere they go, they catch them.
Yeah,
Everywhere they go, they catch them. And they both have. I'm friends with both of them, and they
yeah,
both have forced me to get better at fishing.
yep.
Because when I first started fishing like a lot, I was just good. Like I was literally just good at fishing a jig and
Yeah,
Texas rig. Because in my mind, Texas rig and jig are the same. You fish them the same. What you do with them, they're the same.
yeah, yeah.
That's all I could do, which is crazy because when we're talking about this tournament, this down at Kissimmee, I didn't do any finesse fishing, at least in the tournament. In practice, I did. I tried. I tried very hard to force feed them a jig or a Texas rig. Uh, I
Just
couldn't
didn't want
figure.
it.
I couldn't figure it out. People figured it out. Some people figured it out. I couldn't.
Yeah,
My bite was a power fishing bite, which is not something I usually do or I do comfortably.
yeah, yeah. No, everybody's got their. It's just like a good friend of ours. We talk about Craig everywhere we go. He throws chatterbait.
Yep.
And I'm like, dude, why don't you throw something? But he catches them with it. So like,
Yep.
it's hard
He
to beat a man
does.
down about what he's doing if it's working for him all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And I've taken Craig out 2 or 3 times now on my jump boat because remember I bought a jump boat like
Yeah.
6. It wasn't been 6 months. I think 6 months ago I bought a jump boat, and so I've taken him out a few times, and he threw that jackhammer, and he wasn't like catching anything, and I was throwing a Texas rig, and I was catching him, and I got him to put on a Texas rig, and I think he now has confidence in a Texas rig,
There you go.
not as
That's
much
what
as
it
he
takes,
has in
man.
that jackhammer, but he
Yeah.
has confidence in it.
Well, learning a technique sometimes it involves going out with somebody that's good with that technique. You can watch all the fishing videos, you can watch whatever you want, and it helps. But to go out with somebody and actually be on the water and watch them, that's why time on the water is so important. Um, you,
Absolutely.
you can learn so much from people. I've learned things from James, or he's learned things from me, just feeding off of one another. I mean, that's just how it is. I got buddies that were deadly with a Carolina rig. I learned so much from them through the years, and guys in the club that I used to fish against. And man, that's why I always tell people, club fishing is really great, especially if you get it to where you can fish with different people because you learn so much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I to be honest with you, I think the team format in kayak fishing. I know KFL folded now, KBT, and then I think Gene Jensen has what's his trail he just started called?
Yeah, I've seen a little bit about. I haven't kept up with much going on this year, so I don't know what it is. But I've seen him talking about a team trail that he was doing.
Yeah, he started a team trail, and their schedule. You should look at it because their schedule is fire, bro. Uh, I won't actually have the time, or my partner have the time to fish it. I really wish we did because their schedule is fire. But he started a team trail. The team trail for he started is like a 2-person team.
Mhm.
But anyway, the schedule's fire. But my point is, what I learned from KFL and now that I fish KBT, Kayak Bass Team Series, is that when you fish with a team of people, you learn so much from each other.
Yeah,
Like I have learned so much from the people on the team that I fish with. Like I'm very grateful for it. Like I probably wouldn't have been able to do what I did this past weekend without learning what I learned from the people on my team in the last
yeah,
couple of years.
yeah. That's what that was the point I was going to get at is stuff like that sets you up for moments like this here. Going to Florida or going no matter where you go. You know what I mean? You have that
Yeah.
experience and different techniques and being versatile. It gives you that experience to go and try different things other than just one bait everywhere you go.
Yep. Yes,
And
sir. I 100%.
especially fishing. When we fished the Hobie and the kayak and the Bass Nation Kayak Series and traveled and fished them. Something I've learned about a lot of them guys and girls, especially like Russ Snyder's, Christine Fisher, all of them, is they're versatile everywhere they go. You know what I mean? Like you've got
Yeah.
to be versatile.
Yes. And
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing I've learned from like it's one thing to tournament fish in your area, like where you
Mhm.
live, for everyone regional in your area where you live. It's one thing to tournament fish where you live. It's another thing to tournament fish on the national scene and go to different states, different regions and fish. You learn that the stuff that you whack them on, the stuff that you slay them on in your region, in your area, may not work when you go to this next region or this next state.
Yeah.
And so you have to learn to be versatile. I think the best anglers on the professional scene, we're not talking about kayaks, on the professional scene, actually on the professional kayak scene and on the professional boat scene, are the ones who are versatile, who have learned to do or to be uh, a jack of all trades, so to speak.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah. You're fine.
And
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
no, I was just saying to be a jack of all trades in different angling techniques.
Yeah. Yeah. You definitely got to. And especially like you go up north. I know for us, when we went to fish Lake Winnipesaukee. Now, granted, there's a lot of things that we threw that we always throw everywhere,
Uh-huh.
but there's just learning how to fish that water is totally different than you're fishing 20 foot of water that you can see the bottom. You're like
Yep.
throwing top waters out there and you're like, I don't do this back home. Like I'm throwing top water in 4 and 5 foot of water. But yeah, it's definitely a difference in like I say, fishing with different people, learning different techniques and how to do different techniques is key to going and fishing these big national events. We get that question a lot, like, "Hey, when do you know you're ready to go to the next national event?" And it always used to be, you hear a lot of pros say, "Hey, man, when you start dominating on your home lakes, then you go to the next." Well, for me, I'm just I'm just the opposite. Like I can go and fish Smith Mountain Lake and fish a tournament. Night tournaments, I feel like I can hang with them guys, but get to winter and the fall and all them, I can catch fish, but I can't catch what they're going. But if I go to Bugs Island or Gaston or another lake somewhere in North Carolina that I've never fished, I can catch them. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like I'm fishing open minded, and I feel like I do better on a bigger level than I do back home. So, but I always tell people, to know that you're ready is know that you've gotten about 5 different techniques in your pockets that you've mastered that you can catch fish on. Once you figure that out, now go and fish national levels. But if you're just kind of here and there catching fish on a drop shot everywhere you go, and that's all you want to use, it might work and it will work, but you ain't going to do well everywhere you go doing that one technique.
I I can't agree with you more, man. Like doing like being a master of one technique uh will not get you will not make you see success on the national level.
Yeah.
Like it's just I'm sorry, it's that's just the fact of the matter. Like you have to be able to be versatile, and you have to like I think the most important part about fishing is your mental toughness.
Yeah.
Your mental toughness and your ability to read the situation, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always
Uh,
changing.
yes, yes, and that's for me. I say this to my closest friends. I've said it to you. I've said it to James. Uh, I love bass fishing, and I hate bass fishing at the same time. Like, bro, like you laugh because you
Yeah.
understand. Like,
I know, man.
you love the fact that it's ever changing. You can be catching them 1 minute, and the next minute they change up, and you're not catching them, and you have to try to figure it out. You love that,
Yeah.
but when you can't figure it out and you don't adapt well, you hate it. You're like, why am I out here? Why did I spend all this money on this boat or this kayak? Why do I have these 17 graphs or this 14-inch monitor or whatever? You know, you anybody who watches this will be able
Yeah.
to identify with what I'm saying. Like you get to that point and it's just crazy. Like
Yeah.
that little green fish and that little brown fish are just they
With
can make
brains, with brains
yeah,
that big.
with brains that big, man,
Yeah.
it can make you feel the highest of highs and the lowest of lows.
Yeah. And then when you fish a tournament and you go and you catch, let's say you catch 14, 15 pounds, you feel good. You're like, yeah, that's a good day. I might have a chance of some money. And then you go in there and everybody caught 20, 25. You're like,
Bro,
freaking late. Or you don't you don't get a bite all day and you come in, everybody's like, man, they were chewing, dude. They were freaking chewing. You're like,
bro,
what?
bro, you are so talking facts right now. Like to bring it back to this tournament, uh like I'm pretty sure people have seen the results. They had to have seen the results by now.
Yeah.
All those like 30th place was 90 inches, right? And then 31st place was 89 inches. You had to be better than 90 inches to be 30 or higher. That's that's pretty ridiculous,
Yeah, that's
I
pretty
would
good.
say. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty good, right? Um that was tournament day. Everyone, everyone talking to them. Practice leading up to it was terrible. Like they caught one or two fish. They hit multiple lakes and it wasn't there. Like they weren't everybody wasn't catching 90, 85, or 90 inches in practice. That's not something that was happening. They were getting terrible practices, one or two fish, maybe 4 bites total. But again, what we talked about is understanding trends, being able to read the weather, all that stuff. Like it was a warming trend. Everybody had everybody had faith that because of the warming trend
Mhm.
that uh the fishing was going to turn on. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
Alexa, stop. There's a timer for Alexa. I apologize.
You okay, man? Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah, practice
so I
was
mean,
terrible.
yeah. So I mean, so you just think just the warming trend maybe pulled them. What do you think they were doing during practice? You think they were kind of bedded down, like they're because I mean it was a major cold front that came through
A
not
week.
long before y'all got down there. I mean, it snowed in Florida. It snowed in
Yeah,
Louisiana. I
it
mean,
snowed in Florida.
yeah.
Think about that, people. It snowed in Florida.
I mean, you seen the videos of you can tell when the true rednecks come out. You know what I mean? They get some snow down there, man, and they're down there pulling behind
Yes, sir.
trucks and side by sides with sleds. Because they ain't got no hills, so
Mhm.
everybody's just pulling around on trucks around the neighborhood. And I'm like, that's my kind of people. That's where I need to move to, right there. They're my kind of people. So, but yeah, I mean, them fish are not used to that. But the bad thing about it is they're Florida strain fish. So like Florida strain really turn on when it gets super hot. You know what I mean? They love when
Yes.
it's super hot. So when you get those cold fronts that come in, which it always seems like something like that happens when a big tournament's coming. If you watch Bassmaster, or MLF. It's always a big major cold front during the tournament or right before it, and it shuts them down in Florida.
That's Florida fishing, man. And you brought up a great point. Florida strain bass love super high. I was talking to an angler that I met while I was down there, and we were talking about that simple fact, man. And he was like, for some reason, fish in Florida love the sunny, hot days. Everywhere else in the country, the best fishing's on, cloud covered, overcast days. But in Florida, they love the high sun, the hot days. And I was just like, when you just said that, that just triggered in my mind. I was like, I mean, it's true. I think Florida strain is the biggest strain of bass, right?
Yeah. Now you got the F1 Tiger Bass, which is a Florida strain and a Northern strain.
It's a mix, right? So you take Northern strain's known for being shorter but heavier.
Yeah.
Right, with the smaller mouths. Florida strain's known for the bigger mouths, longer but thinner.
Yeah.
Right. So when you put them together, you should get like an incredible hulk of bass.
Yeah, it's like a gigantic fish.
Yeah. Tiger strain.
Yeah.
I get why they name it tiger strain.
Yeah.
So in Florida, like that's why I tell people, like, my Airbnb, we had 5 guys, right, in my Airbnb, and 2 to 3 of them never really fished in Florida. And I tried to tell them before we got down there, they're like, fishing in Florida is completely different than fishing anywhere else in the country. It's different than fishing in Texas, different than fishing in Virginia, Massachusetts, California. It's different fish because it's just Florida strain.
Yeah.
And so I tried to tell them that, and I also told them that every lake in Florida is the same. It really is. It's grass, it's pads, and it's Kissimmee grass.
And it's alligators.
Definitely alligators. Definitely alligators.
Yeah.
Like most Florida lakes are the same. Like they're a big bowl with grass and pads and Kissimmee grass. And that's just the case. But yeah, so dude, when I tell you, like, I'm from Florida. Not many people know that. I'm from Tallahassee, Florida.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm from Tallahassee, Florida, man. I started fishing at a young age, but I didn't start really actually getting into bass fishing until my high school years. It was all self-taught, man. I watched Bill Dance, I watched Roland Martin, like I watched the shows and I watched what they did and I try to duplicate it and I taught myself how to fish.
How many years ago was that?
Oh, you trying to get me to age myself, right? Yeah. That was probably about 25 to 28 years ago.
You don't have to give the details. I just turned 42, so I'm just, I just want those.
Yeah, you just had a birthday like a day or two ago.
Yeah. I'm feeling it already, man. But
in your lower back?
Yeah.
Well,
I had a midlife crisis last year and bought a dirt bike. So me and my son ride a lot. So now I feel it. I'm like, I don't recover like I used to,
No, we don't. You gotta get you some Insure.
Yeah, I probably do.
They need to make one. They need to make one for fishermen and name it something else other than Insure.
Yeah, something cool sounding.
Yeah, like Lunker Revive or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. But no. So you were self-taught. You were self-taught in Florida, and just kind of growing up, learning from the best, basically.
Yeah, watch TV. You learn from the best. Roland Martin, Bill Dance, at the time, those are the best guys.
Yeah,
they
were. That's what we had.
Yeah. So practice, I had confidence in one lake, and that was the one I hit on Tuesday. Right, and I hit between Tuesday and Friday. Friday, I went back to the same lake that I went to on Tuesday. But Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, between those 3 days, I hit 5 different lakes. And the most I caught between those 5 different lakes or other 4 lakes It was like 4 fish. So I had no confidence in anywhere else. Like, and it's okay. It's literally okay to not catch fish in practice,
Yeah.
but it's not okay to not see what you want to see. Like, you go to an area, there's certain stuff you want to see, especially when you're talking about pre-spawn or spawn time frame. There's
Yeah.
things you want to see that indicate that you can catch fish in that area. You want to see them in the pre-spawn stages. You want to see them in areas that say, "Hey, I'm going to be moving up soon." You want to see them on your fish finder to say, "Hey, we're on this break line that's 4 in Florida lakes." You're talking about maybe at best 10 feet deep in
Mhm.
most lakes. You want to see them in that 10-foot range that's on a point or on a break line where there's a spawning flat or a flat close by with a spawning area right by that. Like, you want to see that type of stuff. And then if you're looking on your fish finder, you don't see that type of stuff. You're just like, the fact that I had 0 bites and I don't see the stuff that I want to see, like, you have 0 confidence in that area.
Mhm.
And that's what
Yeah.
was happening on those other lakes. Like, it's okay to not get bit and not catch a fish in practice, but to go and look at your fish finder and not see things, look at the water temp, look at the bait that's in the area. You don't see that stuff. Look at the water clarity. Like,
What about wind? What about wind down there? Because you hear a lot of guys, like, certain lakes get blown out because of the wind. You know what I
mhm.
mean? Certain sides of the lake. You hear that more about Okeechobee than you do, but, like, I'm sure it happens on Harris Chain too. Like, I mean, I guess that would be some things you got to take in effect as well when making a decision.
I feel like the reason why you hear about it most on Okeechobee is because Okeechobee is such a big bowl. Like, most
Hmm.
of the lakes in Florida are a big bowl.
Yeah.
They really are. If you look at them, they're all a big bowl. Okeechobee's a huge bowl. That's why I think you hear about it most on Okeechobee. But yeah, it's the same on these lakes, right? Because the place I fished was Marion, is a bowl. Like, it literally has 2 creeks.
Mm.
2 creeks on it. Other than that, it's a bowl with 2 islands on it, and not many contour changes.
Yeah.
Not many contour changes. So when you're talking about that, you have the wind. So the wind plays a big part because any type of current you're going to get is going to be wind blown current, and
Yeah.
if it's blowing into a pocket a certain way, like if it's blowing towards the shore, you might want to, fish your bait closer to bank, throw it out towards the wind and bring it in because it's blowing towards the shore. So it's going to be it's going to be mixing up that plankton, which makes the
Yeah.
bait fish come up and hit it towards the shore. I don't know what you're saying, baby.
Talking too much.
Oh, my wife said I'm talking. My wife said I'm talking too much. Am I talking too much,
No,
Flash?
man. This is a podcast. This is a podcast. This is how we.
Okay. She literally sat down to me. She's like, "You're talking too much."
Hey, my wife tells me that all the time. That's why I started a podcast show, because she said I talk too much. So I was like, well, I think I need to start a podcast show then. But no, you're right. I mean, the wind drive, even these lakes here, the wind drives so much on a lake, whether, like, say, if you're pushing bait fish against the bank or any of that stuff. You know what I mean? So, like, I know up here during the fall, early spring, even during the summer, if I got a good windblown point or a windblown bank, I'm throwing a spinnerbait. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I'm going up on there and throwing a spinnerbait. So I think, especially Florida, that was key, because I know, like, when I was down there, I got on a good frog bite during practice. Phenomenal frog bite. But where I got that bite at, the wind beat it to pieces the next day. And for some reason, I couldn't get another bite off a frog on that bank while the wind was blowing. But I'm not a puncher. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I don't know how to do it that well. So I probably could have punched maybe and done something better, but I don't know. But I do know that for us, like, when I got into stuff like that, like hitting wind, hitting the bank down there and throwing a frog, how much of an adjustment I had to make and start throwing like a speed worm and, swimming that around some stuff to finally generate some bites. But yeah, I mean, that can play a big deal in it. But let's kind of get into day one of the tournament. I mean, you finally picked your lake, that you got the
Mhm.
most confident in. I mean, you had, what was it, 85? I got it pulled up right here. 85 or 84 inches your first day.
I think
85 inches, 85 and a half,
yeah.
what you had on your first day. I mean, was there any fish that were lost that could have brought that number up, or was it just kind of that day? Because I mean, there was some big bags brought in on the first day, but like you see a lot of 90s and 80s, that day.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, bro. What I found out after the tournament was how many people were on the same lake that I was on, and how many people in the top 30 were fishing the same lake that I was on. I'm not
Crazy how
gonna.
that works.
It was so many.
Yeah.
Like you talk about the top 30 were 90-inch plus bags, and probably 2/3 of the top 30 were on the same lake that I was on.
That's wild.
So that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So in practice on that lake, everything I ran, I caught 90 inches. Not on Tuesday, but on Friday when I went back, I shook off 90 inches plus because I was able to see the fish. Right. So I was very confident. This is the first tournament one of two tournaments I've gone to super confident in what I had going on. So day one, you asked me had I lost fish, all that. No, I didn't really lose any fish on day one. I ran my stuff, and dude, I probably caught 20 to 30 fish on day one. I had bass thumb going on because of how many fish I caught on day one. I just I my big bite wasn't there.
Yeah.
I had a plan. I had a big fish area, and I had a numbers area, and then I had a backup area. Originally, before the morning of the tournament, my plan was to go to my numbers area, catch my limit, run to my big fish area around 10 or 11, because in practice, that's when I got when I shook off the 2 or 3 big bites I had in the area. I was like, I'll go there around 10 or 11 because that's when I got a bite. The morning of the tournament, I changed my plan, and I said, okay, if I got that bite around 10 or 11, if I go there first thing in the morning, those fish are still going to be there. I could probably get 5 big bites.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I'm going to go to my big fish area first, which was completely across the lake. Well, there's 3 launches on this lake. I launched from the middle launch. When we took off, it was probably like 15, 20 boats there, kayaks there. We took off. I was the only one headed that way. I took off on full bore on the Torpedo on my 360, right? Full bore on Torpedo on my 360, 6 miles per hour, beaming. Nobody's headed that way. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to save battery. Nobody's headed this way. I backed it down to like 3 miles per hour because we took off at 7, lines in was 7:30.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't take 30 minutes to get there.
Yeah.
So I backed off and dropped down to 3 miles per hour, which was like a very minimal amount of battery loss. So I'm just cruising, just chilling, right? Rigging stuff while I'm going, taking my time. I look over to the left, the northern launch. Somebody from the northern launch was pointed directly at where I was headed. And I figured that out. I'm looking, I'm like, he looks like he's going exactly where I'm going. But he's got a lead on me, right? So I'm like, So I kick up the Torpedo a little bit, speed up to like 4.5, right? I'm like, okay, this is good enough. It looks like he has a bow mount. I'll beat him, right?
Yeah.
XI3 does like
Yeah.
4 to 4.5 at
Yeah.
tops. So
It ain't a
I'll beat
speed
him.
demon.
Yeah, it ain't speed demon. So I was like, I'll beat him. Well, I didn't. He got there like 30 seconds before I did.
Oh
Right.
man.
Right. And I'm not the a-hole. So I rode up, like he rode up like literally 30 seconds before I did. I was like, hey, what are you planning to fish? Like he was like, I'm gonna fish this right here, right? And he was like, I'm gonna be here all day. And I was like, mm. I was like, I'm gonna fish this area off to the left, right? Pads and stuff off to the left. I'm gonna fish this. And I was like, just let me know if I get your area. He was like, let me know. I was like, let me know if I get your way. He was like, you do the same. Let me know if I get in your way. I'm like, cool. So I ran off to the left, which is not where my juice is. My best juice is where he's at. I was like, let me know the same. So I was like, okay, I was watching the way he was fishing it, and I was like, he's not fishing it right. I'm okay. He's not fishing it right. Well, in the first 15 minutes, he caught like three 17 and 18-inch fish. Right? In the first
Wow.
15 minutes, bro. And I'm like, ah, that's my best area. Like, that's for my big fish area, bro. I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't like this. And he's like, because he was flipping creature base and stuff. And I'm like, but he's being very methodical. I was like, he's showing him too much stuff. Because in the area, like in practice, I caught him on power fishing baits, big fish on power fishing baits. So I was like, okay, well, he messed up my mental. Seeing that
Yeah.
he said he was going to be there all day, I wasn't ever going to be there, be able to get in there. He kind of messed with my mental. So then I fished the outskirts. I caught like some dinks, like 12 and 13 inches. And then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to my secondary area. Go back to my secondary area because he's got that. I'm not gonna be able to get that. So I went back to my secondary area, and I caught uh, some fish, 15, 16, 17 inches. And I couldn't get a big bite on day one. I caught 20 to 30 fish.
Yeah.
Ran all my spots in rotation. Caught 20 to 30 fish. Couldn't get a big bite. But I caught good fish to give me a 80, 85 inch limit. I didn't look at the leaderboard and then I saw how many people had 90 plus inches. I was just like, this is crazy. I was just like, I'm pretty much out of contention for winning, but I'm kind of still in contention for getting a check. Kind
Yeah.
of. Because it
Yeah.
was so bunched up, like it
Yeah.
was like, go ahead.
Them tournaments are fun, but they suck at the same time because sometimes you say you got a 15 incher and you catch a 17, you know what I mean? And then you pull
Yep.
up 6, 7, maybe 10 spots. And then all of a sudden another guy catches, everybody else catches another one and they catch another inch on you. You know what I mean? And then you move
Yep.
down 11 spots or something. That's just when those
It's,
fisheries are and the fish are in that same size everywhere. You know what I mean? Especially pre-spawn where you get the 15 to 17-inch fish everywhere. It's really tough to, you got to get that big bite to really make a move.
yep. It just really sucked, man, because I knew what type of stuff I was on. I was on some special stuff. But just in day one, I just didn't get the big bite. I literally missed 2 fish all day. That's it.
Yeah. And the reason why I asked that was because, I've talked to a lot of people, and especially on 2-day events, if they either lose it or they get out of the money or something, there's always one scenario. For instance, like that guy there is on your spot. There's
Uh-huh.
always one scenario that if it went a different way, it could have been a game changer. You know what I mean? Whether you're winning, whether you're cashing a check, any of those things.
100%. 100%. In
Yeah.
that area, I think it was like a 24, 25-inch fish. I watched it eat my jackhammer in practice, and I hit the button and like let it run, shaking, and let it go so I don't stick it. And I didn't stick it and it got off. So I knew that was a
He was
big
there.
fish area. I knew that was a big fish area. And I didn't get that area on day one because old boy sat there. I don't even know I don't remember. I didn't ask him his name, so I don't even know where he finished. But
Yeah.
he was there literally until about 2, 1:32, 2 p.m. So
Dang.
yeah, I didn't even get to fish my big fish area. So uh, hindsight, dude, I feel like so I don't feel like I had a bad day one. 85 inches. It's
Oh,
not
that's a good
terrible.
day.
It's
No.
not terrible. But based on what I expected, it was not what I expected because of what I had planned.
Well, also too, you look at it this way. So most time in multi-day events, unless you're on the juice and you really figured something out and you make the changes, most of the time your first day is your best day, and then you go in and then it starts, because if you hammered it the hole too hard or other people came through and hammered it after you left, normally your second day, your weights kind of fall off a little bit sometimes. So, but yours just skyrocketed over what you
Yeah.
had the first day. So that's on the second day. What was your rotation on the second day?
So they want like in practice, my pattern I was on, like I said, sexy shad, lipless, silent lipless. from Spro, which it was more like a translucent sexy shad, right? So it was pretty subtle, but it still had the vibration of a lipless. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I was on a jackhammer bite with a. It was pink. It was pink and white. I don't know the color name. Whatever. It was pink and white. That's what I was catching them on. The end of day one, I didn't get bit on that, right? So in the last 2 hours, I was like, because of all this cloud cover, I was like, let me switch to a darker color because of all this cloud cover. Because I tried to stick with what I caught him on in practice the whole time, and
Yeah.
then I was like, okay, you know what? Let me fish the conditions. So I switched to a what is it called? Bruised bluegill, the black and blue with the green
Yeah.
pumpkin. The
Yeah.
bruised bluegill with a Zaco trailer, the blue baby Zaco trailer. I was like, let me switch to that, and I got bit like that. So from the end of day one, getting bit like that on that one, and looking at what the weather was for day two, supposed to be cloud cover. I was like, this is what I'm gonna go with. So I cut it. First off, I cut everything off at the end of
Yeah.
day one before I went into the rant. So uh launching day two, I had none of that tied on. But I changed my game plan. I said I'm gonna stick with my original game plan, which was to hit the number spot, get my limit, and then go hit my big fish spot. That was my original game plan on day one, but morning of day one, I changed it up and I said I'm gonna hit big fish spot first and then go to number spot. So on day two, I was like, I'm doing what I originally planned to do. Number spot, when I tell you, Josh, was literally, hey, 7 o'clock, you can launch and go where you need to go. 7:03, I was there.
You got
It
to
was
sit there and wait.
yeah. So the BASS BASS boat, camera boat, launched, right? They had their drone running, right? And they said, go. And the drone was up there watching everybody take off, go their separate ways, right? And they're watching that. And I was like, I hit the torpedo like for like 45 seconds. And then I came off the torpedo. And so the drone's up there watching everybody took off. And then it sees that I stopped. Me and David stopped. And it comes back and it's like, it's almost like the drone's looking at us like, what y'all doing? Like everybody's going, nah, this is this is the number spot. Like I caught
Yeah.
like three, I had like 3 bites in 8 minutes over here. So I had to wait forever for lines in because
Yeah.
that's where I started. Uh, and then lines in came, and Josh, when I tell you my third cast on the lipless, I hooked into a 20-inch plus fish, and I'm like, yes, sir. It pulled off.
Oh my gosh.
It pulled off like 15 feet from the kayak. And I was just like, okay, is this what today's going to be like? Is this what my day's going to be like? Seriously? Whatever. You know what? I'm out here with my friends. My main goal was just to have fun and go fishing on better weather because in Virginia it's cold.
Yeah.
So then I caught I want to say I caught like a 13 and a half. Then I caught 13, all on lipless. And then I caught like an 18 on the lipless. And I was like, okay, 3 fish, first 30 minutes. I'm doing pretty well, even though 2 of them are dinkers. I was like my buddy was right there, David. And I was like, these are dinks, but I don't care. They count.
Yeah.
Then I ran to the island. And so David was pissed because we were kind of on the same pattern, but he lost a big one and he hadn't had more bites. But we were close to each other, could see each other's fishing. And I caught 3 and he had 1. And then he moved to the island and I moved outshore. I moved offshore, which was a part of my plan. And I caught a 22 and a half.
Mm.
Like she hit literally like 10 feet in front of the kayak. I didn't know she was big, but I was yo-yoing it right there in front of 10 feet in front of the kayak. And I went to lift up and there was weight and then it took off. Got her in the
Man.
net. Got her in the net. She was either 22 and a half or 22 and a quarter. One or two, I don't remember. And I was like, okay. And it's like, dude, it's like 8:45. And that's fish number 4. And I got like 70 inches on 4 fish. So I'm
Oh
like,
my gosh.
all right. So then I run to the island where David was. He was like 50 feet to the right. And I was like, this area is where I caught 3 fish at the end of day 1. So I run past the Kissimmee grass, through the Kissimmee grass, hit the torpedo, run straight through the Kissimmee grass to the inside line. Toss the jackhammer like third cast. I pop a 17. And that's fish number 5. So I got a limit of 89 inches, right?
Mhm.
And I'm like, 89 inches by 9 a.m. And I'm like, okay. I look at it. Vegas got me in like 3rd place. Obviously, it's because everybody hadn't caught their fish yet, especially because I had 85 inches on day 1 and so many people were over 90.
Yeah.
So I took a screenshot just to be like, hey, 3rd place, you know. So then I ran to Big Fish Spot. The guy was in there who was there day 1. So I couldn't go in. I couldn't actually hit the juice of the spot. So I hit the outskirts. I hit the Kissimmee grass. And at that point, the wind kicked up to like 20 mph sustained. So I put the torpedo on like 40 into the wind. And I was like, I'm just going to throw the lipless on the Kissimmee grass line. Like 10 feet from the boat, a 23 hit. And she hit it. And like the way she hit it, I thought she was a small fish. So I
Yeah.
was just like, whatever, fighting her like she was a small fish. And then she got up to the kayak and I saw her body and I was like, oh, this is not a small fish. And then like the rod that I was using, so I didn't say this. In practice, I put the lipless on a rod that I shouldn't have put it on. It was a heavy action rod. It was my old jig rod.
Hmm.
So I put it on a heavy action rod, excuse me, with 17-pound fluoro. And like this was in practice, right?
Yeah.
And so I hooked some fish and I hooked decent fish in it. And I was like, I understand because I'm using the wrong rod, I'm gonna have to hit the bail, feather it like it's a drag to be able to catch them. So then I went to Bass Pro and I bought a rod. I bought a medium moderate St. Croix Premier,
Hmm.
right? So that's what I was using during the tournament because I didn't want to lose the fish because I was using too heavy a rod.
Yeah.
So when I hooked the 23 like 10 feet from the boat, if I would have had the rod that I was using in practice, I would have lost that fish. So when she hit it, completely put the rod into you. For all intents and purposes, I probably should have lost that fish because she ran down the left side of the boat and then she ran under the boat. And that rod didn't have enough backbone to just horse her. So
Yeah.
she was doing what she wanted to do. And so the rod's in a U underneath the boat. She's running to the right. And I'm in a Hobie. So I'm like, please don't let this line run into the pedal drive.
Yeah.
She didn't. She ran to the front. So I was able to fight her, get her to the net. And I took the picture in front of another kayaker. This is what pissed me off. I was headed this way, right? Fishing this way into the wind, throwing my lipless into the wind and retrieving it to make it look natural with the way
Mhm.
the wind was blowing. Caught the 23. This guy, the other kayaker, was coming this way with the wind down the reed line. So I'm like, okay. When I caught that fish, I turned the motor on. I had already made a cast. I turned the motor on because I was going to go out and let him continue on his line. Right? So the motor was running when that fish hit. So when she hit, the motor's running. So I'm running. The motor's got me running this way. This fish is running this way, and I'm like, I don't. And then, but anyway, this guy's coming this way. So I'm like, I caught the fish. He watched me catch the 23-inch fish. It was obviously a big fish. And then he turns around and starts fishing the way that I was going. So I'm like, with the way the wind's blowing, I can't even continue to fish this line because this dude's fishing. I don't want to be
Yeah.
an a-hole.
Yeah.
So I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna run to the island. Just caught this 23. When I caught 23, it was a 10-inch cull. It culled out a 13-inch fish.
Good gosh.
So it took me to 98 inches. And I was like, okay, I've never had a century
Yeah.
in a tournament. In a tournament, I've never had a century. Done it multiple times and fun fishing, never in tournament. I was like, all I need, because I had another 13.5 inch fish in my bag. I was like, all I need is like a 17 inch fish. 15 inch fish. I'll hit a century. So I ran to the island. There were like four of the kayak fishermen there. Ran to the island. I was throwing a lipless. I was on a very solid pattern, bro. Like the lipless was working on Kissimmee grass lines, and when I got into pads and grass, the jackhammer was what worked, and
Yeah.
it worked everywhere I went. Like that was the case. So I got to this area. I threw the jackhammer because it was grass and pads. Threw it like 10 times. Nothing. And I was like, you know what? It's open. Let me grab the lippus, put the jackhammer down, grab the lippus, threw it out, retrieving. Like it was like a 40-yard cast, like 10 yards into the cast, 21 and a quarter, 21 and a half hit. Fought her back to the boat, get her in the net. And I was like, that puts me over a century. I yelled out the loudest yell, bro. The loudest yell. Everybody on the lake had to hear me. It put me at like, I want to say 103 inches, right? And
Yeah.
I think I had a 17 was the smallest in my bag at that point. No, 18 and a half. Whatever the case, I had 18 and a half and I had 18. And then I went to an area, the big fish area, which a dude had finally left. It was like noon. He finally left that area. And I was like, he ain't fished it right, so I could probably still pull out a big fish here. Fifth cast, I pull out 19 and a half.
Oh man.
And that put me at 104 and three quarter. And this was before noon. It was like 11:58. And I was like 104 and three quarter. I still have an 18 and a half in my bag. I have 18 and a half, 19 and a half, 21 and a half, 22 and a quarter, 22 and a half, and a 23. And I was like, I can call up. I can get into the top five after having an 85-inch first day.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at the numbers, how everybody's fishing. I'm like, if I catch a 2021, that's a 2 to 3 inch call right now. And that'll put me at like 192, 193 ish.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can do it. I can do it. Man, I caught probably five more fish, and they were all like 18 inches.
That's
But
how it goes, ain't it?
yeah, at that point, it was like, you know what, bro? You got 104 and three quarter inches in a national tournament with some of the best anglers out here.
Yeah.
You
And
can't
you
be
give
mad.
up some of your best water. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, you give up
Yeah.
the one spot to the guy in the morning, and then the other guy came in on you after you caught that 23. So I mean, you give up water.
Yeah,
And
and then the
I guess
wind died. Like, the wind only lasted like 15, 20 minutes. I feel like I've rethought it in my head multiple times. I was like, after I caught that 23, if I could have continued on that line, I probably could have caught two or three other 20-inch plus fish. But the guy flipped. He decided he was doing something different. He went. I gave it to him. I'm I'm not the guy who likes conflict on water,
yeah,
right? I just because I mean it's fishing. It's
yeah.
bass fishing, man.
It's supposed to be fun.
Yes, it's meant to be fun. I don't want to get into a heated debate or argument with somebody because of fishing.
Yeah. No, I can understand that. Like that's your get away from drama and have
Yeah,
fun kind of sport. You know what I mean? So
yeah. And I had no way to contend for first place because Sherman had 100 inches on day one. And then before like 11, he only had like 97 inches. So I had hope. But then he cold up to like 104 inches. And I was like, okay, there's no way for first place. It's not happening.
yeah,
Right. I was like, maybe second place. Dude, I was beating Guillermo and Gene Jensen. And in the last hour, they both cold up with big fish. And because their day one was so much better than mine, I had no,
yeah.
like, I had a very special day too, man. Very special. If I weighed the fish, I had north of 27 pounds
Hmm.
on day 2.
Yeah.
So I couldn't be upset. I was happy as hell.
Yeah. No, that's it's the little victories, man. Sometimes that catching 104 inches and making adjustments and it working. You know what I mean? It's the little victories. A lot of times in tournament fishing, that's might not be the main victory, but it's the little ones that help build that confidence and move you
The
on to the
little
next event.
For me, the little victories meant more than the bigger ones because
Yeah,
my mental held up and the decisions that I made, the changes that I made worked out. So those meant way more than what the
yeah,
outcome was.
yeah. What I mean, you had a good event there. I mean, you're starting off good in points. Um, Granted, I know a lot of people. It wasn't many people that made the trip to Havasu. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I don't see a lot of them guys making the trip. Some may, but I don't see a lot of them guys making the trip this way. So I think it kind of balanced itself points wise now. Um, but you got a good start in points. What is your plans for the rest of this year? I know retirement's coming, so I mean you're gonna have more time to fish. Or you planning on traveling, fishing more of the bass stuff?
So uh I didn't think about the fact of what you just said, that people who fish Havasu, most of them probably didn't make the trip to Florida for number 2.
Mm,
So point stuff. I didn't think about that part, but um, I don't. So my main goal is retirement from the Navy, right?
mm-hmm,
And uh, I'm looking at the number of leave days that I have, right? So the more leave days I have, the earlier I can not go to work in the Navy and still get paid before I have to actually get out of the Navy.
mm-hmm.
Not many people know how it works. Like, so say my retirement date is January 1. If I have 60 days of leave, I can stop going to work 2 months prior to January 1
Oh wow,
and use those leave days. Granted, technically I'm still in the Navy for those
yeah,
60 days, but I don't have to go to work. Like, I can go find another job and do whatever I want for those
yeah,
60 days until January 1, when January 1 I'm out of the Navy. So I'm trying to maximize my leave days so that I have more days I don't have to go to work
yeah,
in the Navy. But you're right. I had a pretty good finish for this tournament. Um, I've always felt, because of my job, that I don't get to be as competitive as I can be. I've always felt that I'm better than what my numbers have been in the national tournaments,
yeah,
because in most of the national tournaments, I've had one day of practice and I fished the tournament
yeah.
because of leave in the military.
Mm-hmm.
This one, I took a week off. So I had 3 days of practice to find some actual stuff.
Yeah,
So uh, when I actually have time to go out and do a real practice and do study and get into it, I can compete with all these
absolutely.
hammers. I can compete with them. I compete with
Yeah,
the Russ Snyders, the Christine Fishers, the Gene Jensens, the Eric Siddiqui. I compete with all these guys and
yeah,
men and women. I'm sorry, I compete with all these men and women. So that's what I want to do, man.
yeah.
I was just looking now, and the next bass at Del Hollow. Del Hollow's a bucket list lake. It's the end of April. I might be able to take 4 or 5 days.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's
uh, I think I want to compete for AOI. I think I want to compete for getting a bid into the Bass Championship.
that's fun. I I didn't do well in it, but it was a fun event. Just kind of the hype around it. You know, um, I wish I wished it was done a little bit differently for the kayakers when it come to like the meetings, and it just felt like a regular club event on that deal. You know what I mean? But
For
like, the
Dell?
no, when we fished the national champion, when we fished the Bassmasters Classic,
Oh, okay.
you know
Got
what
you.
I
Got
mean?
you. Yeah, yeah.
So, but just making that was, I was on the edge of not making it. Like I had a good fork tournament, and then it kind of just slowly fell off that year.
Uh-huh.
James, he was already qualified because of fork. I was one spot out from qualifying for fork, and then I had to go to Pickwick, and I had to make a top 10 finish, and I made 9th place, and that's how I qualified for it there. And going to it and fishing Chickamauga, I mean, Chickamauga is not my best lake, and I struggle on that lake every single time I go there. But just the hype around it, you know what I mean? Going down there and fishing the national championship, the Bassmasters Classic, shall we say?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, kayak Bassmaster Classic. Yeah,
yeah,
you're right.
and having a chance to walk across the stage where the big guys walk, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
uh, that's what I'm hoping. Maybe in the next year or so, that's what I like to. I like to get back out there and try and compete and um, you know, see how things go again.
this was so going into this one. That was my goal, was to qualify for the classic, right?
Mhm.
Especially after practice and what I found in practice and the specials this that I found in practice, I felt very confident going into it that I could do it. So my day one really, like, everybody, like a lot of I've have gotten so much praise for my day two, right? So much praise from so many people for my day two. And I feel like my day two was just a tad bit better than what I expected for day one,
Yeah,
based on my practice. In my practice, I did not get my big fish bites. I Day two, I ran the same exact pattern. I ran the same lines, I ran the same spots in the same rotation. Because in practice I caught, or I shook off, that class of fish.
yeah,
So, I don't know if I would have caught 100 inches on day one, but I would have been very close to it
hmm
if everything worked out the way it was supposed to work. But that's bass fishing. But like, my day two was special. I will not downplay it, man. 104 and 3/4 inches in a
yeah,
tournament. Really?
yep,
In a tournament with some of the best anglers in the world, Drew Gregory, Christine, some of the best kayak anglers in the world, Drew Gregory, Christine Fisher, Gene Jensen, Ken Wood, Derek Brundle, Casey Reed, all these names, and I outcaught them on day two.
yeah, yeah. No, it was phenomenal, man. I was checking it every so often it was out, and I seen it, and I was like, "Good Lord, 104 inches! This man, he just set the world on fire today." I said, I couldn't imagine how he's feeling in that boat, you know. And the thing is, when you have those big events, now, granted, I know you were trying to upgrade, so you were trying to get rid of an 18 that you had, but it seems like especially if you catch it early, the day lasts forever. You know what I
You're
mean?
correct. You're
Like,
correct.
you're like, man, I'm ready to get off water and see how this goes, you know?
Yeah,
And it
yeah,
never
man.
ends.
Yeah, and it's funny because I had 104 and 3/4 by like noon. And Sherman, the guy who won the tournament, at the time he was at like 98, 99 inches. And I was like, oh, I got this shit by a mile.
Yeah,
Do you know that Sherman ended the day with like 104 1/4? He's still cold up.
yeah,
Like, I was just like, what? Hold on, man. Like, you couldn't just let me have a spot like Sherman? Like, but Sherman's such a good dude, man. Like, he's a Florida legend. I don't know if you know Sherman, but
I
he's a
know of
Florida.
them.
Yeah, he's a Florida legend, but he's such a great guy in
Yeah,
general. He's a good dude. So I was very happy for him and his win, even though I would have preferred to win.
yeah,
But the guy who won, I was very happy for him.
yeah,
Sherman Bishop, if you watch this, very happy that you won that, man. Chris Mitchell came in second. You don't know me, bro. We met for a second, but like, I watch your videos on YouTube. I was happy you came. You were up there too. I wanted to beat both of you because you're both like Florida guys. Granted, I grew up in Florida, but I haven't fished Florida in like 20 years. So I wanted to beat both of you.
yeah. When you
If
beat
you
the
watch.
legends of that area, that's like going to Florida and beating Roland Martin. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
You
Yeah,
know,
man.
I mean, you do
Yeah.
something like that, you're like, ha, I beat the man. I don't care who else is in this tournament as long as I beat him. You know,
And
so
if I was to beat them without throwing a speed worm or a frog, that made it so much better. You know what I mean? Like,
that's right.
yeah.
That's right.
I mean, Josh, you know me. I'm not a power fishing guy. You know me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But to do what I did, power fishing, gave me so much more experience and so much more confidence in that.
Yep. Yep. And you ready to move on to the next one now? Because now you have that in your belt now on your holster. You know what I
Yes,
mean? When you're
sir.
ready to pull and draw.
Yes, sir.
So, and well, we kind of went longer than I was expecting, which is good. I like having a long show and getting in depth on your tournament. And I was gonna go in depth with some techniques, but we might get you back on later, and we'll talk jig fishing because jig fishing season in Virginia is gonna be fire. It's starting to fire up now.
Yes,
So
I was about to say it's coming up, bro.
yeah, so
Coming up.
we'll get you on. We're gonna talk jig fishing. We'll do technique specific video, and we're gonna talk jig fishing and get you
We
back on here.
we can definitely do that. I'll be happy to do that, man. Because I don't care if I teach people, man. Like I love people getting better at fishing.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. That's what we're here
Yeah.
for.
Yeah,
Pass the knowledge, man, for the next generation.
absolutely. Because I'm old now.
That's
I'm over.
right.
I'm over 40, so that makes me old now, right?
That's right. Old as
Yeah.
dirt.
Yeah, old as dirt. Joe Dirt. Dierte.
Craig, and Craig, if you're listening, just remember you old. You old as you really old.
Greg, you ancient.
Yeah, you old.
Yeah.
Poor Craig. Poor Craig catches it no matter what. He ain't even on the show. He catches it.
He's
So,
gonna catch it. He's gonna catch it in the message group. Even worse.
well, Robert, man, I appreciate you taking time to come on and talk with me, and I'm very happy that you had a very successful tournament. I know it maybe not have been the numbers that you were looking for, but it was still a great event, and like I say, small victory. So,
Yes, sir.
but I appreciate you. Appreciate you coming on and talking to us about it. I appreciate you being a great supporter of One Objective and being a good team member. We think highly of you and all that you do for not only us, but your other sponsors as well. And you represent very well, and you represent the way that people should represent a company. You know what I mean? And like I
I
said, just one
appreciate it,
thing.
man. I
So
appreciate that.
we think highly of you, and we're looking forward to seeing more success from you this year because I know it's going to happen. I actually talked with James, and I said, man, Robert ain't got long. It's going to be hard to beat that man on the water here soon because he's going to be retired.
Bro, like I feel that because when I have more time to actually put into this journey, I feel like I can be up there with all the biggest names or better.
Yeah.
Like
I
I'm
think
not
so.
trying to toot my own horn, but I'm coming for all y'all. I'm coming for all
Oh
y'all.
man, he's putting shots across the bow now.
That's fine with me. I'm coming for all y'all. And regardless of the fact that I am on One Objective's team, but I want you guys to understand One Objective makes some of the best kayak accessories out there. And what most people don't know is that they do some of the best rigging, some of the best kayak rigging. If you're in the Virginia area, or not even in the Virginia area, Tennessee, passing through, you want to get your kayak rigged out, customized, dope, how you want it, hit up One Objective, man. Hit up James, hit up Josh. Let them know what you want, and they will figure out how to get you what you want.
Well, I really appreciate that, Robert. We've rigged a couple of your boats and several of your buddies' boats. So
Yes, yes.
we've had a lot of guys in the shop that you've brought to us. So we appreciate that, man. But well, Robert, I'm gonna let you get going, buddy. I'm gonna get off here and I might go hit the bed here. But I'm old, man. I'm tired.
I mean, I gotta hit the bed too because I got duty tomorrow. I got guard duty tomorrow.
Well, I'll holler at you later, Robert, and good luck to you, buddy.
I appreciate you having me, man. Have a good night.
You too, buddy. Thank you. All right, guys. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed that interview. Robert, I always enjoy talking with Robert. When he comes to the shop, I have a great time talking with Robert. It's always fun. It's always carrying on. And Robert's a good dude. And him having a good event, we were super, super happy for him. We had a couple other guys that was in it, Adam Trone and Lance Burris. Them guys looked like they were starting to have a good day one, and then some things fell off. And but that's fishing, you know what I mean. You can't always catch them. But congratulations to them guys as well for, just making the drive down there and competing and actually having, some catching some fish, you know what I mean? Because sometimes, like I say, the little victories mean a lot more than a win sometimes. So, but guys, if you did enjoy this video, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Also, like I said, we're trying to get back into this. We're really trying to get our show fired back up. We had some things that went on towards the end of the year. Actually, last year was kind of messed up. I ain't gonna lie to you. It was kind of just, it was so much going on. We also had some things that we were trying to build up for this year work-wise. We got some other things that we're working on now. We'll release that soon. That I think is going to make One Objective even better, put us up there higher on that notch of, just building our business to a more successful company. So we got a lot in the works there, not just with products, but some other moves that's going to be happening with us, and some things that we're dabbling in. So we're really excited about getting that going. But like I say, all that's going to be coming later on. But we're trying to get this kicked back off and getting the show back going. Our next show already got it lined up for our next guest, and that is going to be Chase Clarkey. He won the Bassmaster Open on Clarks Hill, so we're going to get him on next week, and we're going to be going over how he did that, and then kind of going into his history of how he got to where he's at now and trying to qualify for the Elite Series. So make sure you go stay ready for that show is what I'm trying to say, because that one's going to be a good one as well. So we're trying to get some guests lined up here. If you got guests that are, let me say, ready to come on, they want to talk, and we know that are reliable guests. I'm not saying that some of the ones we had aren't reliable. Some things came up, or we had some things come up. So, but we've had some guests too that at pretty much a couple minutes before the show come on and cancel. So that's kind of been some of the grind last year. So we're gonna work on trying to get more guests on, get more people on here, and talking bass fishing, digging into some techniques and all that stuff. So then again, also I'd like to thank our sponsors again. They're scrolling down at the bottom. I'll have a link down below if you're on YouTube, where you save yourself 15% on Waterland. You can also go check out our YouTube videos, One Objective Outdoors or One Objective Bass Fishing. Our outdoor channel has grown substantially. We're very, very blessed to have the subscribers that we have, and we're just, like I said, very fortunate to have them. And we want to thank everybody that has subscribed. A lot of these shows are going on One Objective Outdoors now, because this is all the bass fishing and all that stuff that we do, everything we do outdoors. Where, ironically, I know the other one's called One Objective Bass Fishing, the other YouTube channel, but it kind of got filled with install videos and how-tos and rigging videos and all that stuff. So we just kind of moved everything over to the outdoor channel, and it's done really well, and we're very grateful for where we're at. So, but please hit the subscribe button there and on both channels. Other than that, guys, I really appreciate all that you guys have done for us over the last several years. And like I say, we're going to try to keep this thing going one more year. We're going to see how things go. But this is going to be a turning point if we're going to continue with One Objective podcast. So we're going to play it out this year, see how it goes. And if I don't feel like I can devote as much time to it as I can, we might make some changes. Maybe it'll be somebody else coming on helping with the show. I don't know. I don't know how we're going to do it. So, but other than that, stay tuned, guys. Make sure you check out the next show. Also, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And guys, we will see you next time.